Welcome back, troops. Crusty Old Crow back again to do another one of the tactical perspective toy reviews and discussions, because that's what they really are, on the G.I. Joe Classified series action figures by Hasbro. These mirror images of the 80s toys that you all grew up with and I grew up with, and we loved collecting them as children. And for a guy like me that had severe ADHD and often lived in his own little world, my Joe collection was everything to me as a child. And when I outgrew it, I made some dumb decisions with it, gave it away, did whatever. And as an adult, I've always regretted it. So I was so glad Hasbro did this and gave us all this opportunity to not go back through eBay and try and rebuy our old collection, but rather start a new one and start a high detailed and much more interesting version of that collection. So today, no secret, guys, I've got bats on the mind. Bats were something that I just did not have many of when I was a kid. As I mentioned in another video earlier, I didn't believe in army building when I was a child, just because getting a Joe was such a limited experience as a kid. I'm just gonna plug my light back in while we're here. Just realized, oh my gosh, my lighting's not on. What do you do about that? So while I plug my light in, I'll just keep going about the bat. Was when I was just getting old enough to start considering not buying G.I. Joe. The first bats had been out for a little while, and the original black bat, I don't know if they ever remarketed it while I was still collecting or not, but I remember the black bat, and you guys should too if you're watching. It was this guy, the Android Trooper, the Cobra Bat, and we're just gonna pop that. These are just images I've took off Google. This is obviously a comic book version of the original bat, but there's the one I remember. I don't think I ever had him. I knew my friend had him. Seen him in every battle I ever brought my Joes to against his Cobra. We always saw the bat, and there was always something very off-putting about the bat to me, and I couldn't quite find the way to express it, I guess, as a kid at the time. But as an adult, I know exactly what it was. And I wanted to hear your guys' feedback. The conversation I have, the bat brings me to the all-encompassing conversation. When you played with your Joes as a kid, or you took them to your friend's house, or he brought his collection to yours, what did you accept as proxies, stand-ins for actual Joe figures? I know with me, we had to accept in my circle of friends a degree of some Star Wars figures, because the scale was correct and the vehicles were therefore compatible with the 3.75 inch scale figurines at the time. You could easily slide Snake Eyes into an X-Wing, and that would be okay with our circle of friends. And it wasn't because anything more than just children at play with what they had, right? And you had multiple interests as a child, and Star Wars and G.I. Joe, they were released back to back. There was times where their release schedules were competing for your attention as a child. And so Christmas would sometimes have a diverse range of Joe vehicles and Star Wars figurines, or vice versa. And that, you know, if you were fortunate. And like I said, I mean, as poor as I grew up, like, I wouldn't say poor, but I was definitely not privileged. But my grandparents made sure that my grandparents and my family members associated, for birthdays and for Christmas, they stuck to what I liked, right? And made sure I had these figures available. So what did you accept for it? Did you accept the Star Wars action figures? I know guys that wanted to put He-Man action figures into our fights, and me and my friends would draw the line the same way, like, that doesn't make any sense. But again, the rationale of a child, right? But bringing it back to the bats were always off-putting to me, because it was the tech being presented, and now that I look back on it, that didn't add up. The same reason Star Wars vehicles didn't add up for my Joes was it didn't make sense. If these tech were available, it's not of that era, and it was too futuristic. We couldn't have achieved these perfectly balanced androids that had the self-awareness and decision-making, like artificial intelligence in the 80s, man, because you turn on your video game system and play a game of Pac-Man or maybe Duck Hunt or those games on the early Nintendos. Like, we knew our tech wasn't there as kids. It's just your imagination had to allow it to be there in your gaming play, because that's what you had, right? But I grew up, I really focused on that, and I couldn't tolerate the bat because in the 80s, the idea of an android that could sustain itself and actually be a viable threat on the battlefield was ridiculous to me. Absolutely ridiculous. I had very little patience with this character, and I would concede that I did like the color scheme at the time. But again, I'm just like, fighting robots? I knew war meant violence, and it was unpleasant. And I was like, now that Joes are only killing robots, they're never actually killing anyone. This isn't war. That was the rationale that my mind kept focusing on, and I was just curious if you guys were the same. Anyways, about the bats. Saturday or Friday, the other day, when I bought the two Joes, ironically enough, it just occurred to me, I had actually been on a cave tour in Quebec with my wife. We did zip lining and cave tours, and one of the things that lives in caves are bats. So it's strange that I happened to come across one that I actually wanted, because I wasn't going to buy any of the bats I was seeing, because they were all Python Patrol. And guys, my line in the sand is Python Patrol, just based off the aesthetics of it. I just don't agree with that neon green on gray. It's an eyesore, and I wasn't going to buy a bat for that. Can't find a Crimson Bat around here. Crimson Bat would have maybe made sense, considering I had Tomax and Zaymont. And I couldn't find the black and yellow bat. But I did manage to get the new bat, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Number 69 in the series, the Arctic Bat, which there was a new reason for me to buy this. One, this is probably the finest of the bats as far as I think about their tactical aesthetics. And do they look dangerous and actually a threat? Or are they comically overcolored in some way? This guy is bang on. But I bought this bat because I knew at some point I am going to be fortunate enough with the opportunity to buy Snow Job. And hey, Snow Job is actually sitting in the background in this picture, by the way. And he's going to be a premium set. I'm going to invest about $65 probably in getting that figure. And I like having displays that make sense. And when you start having an Arctic figure, you want its own display. You guys seen how I did my forward operating base diorama, and then I got my Cobra Island over there, which you'll see in a little again, and when we do the figure inspection. And I want to do another one for winter because I was going to get Snow Job. So you need troops. Can't get Snow Serpents yet, but voila, we got the Arctic Bat, and he actually works really well. And I was very happy to see this on the shelf, because I wasn't expecting this in Ottawa for at least another couple of months. I think we have probably the slowest release schedule out here. Anyways, so on the box you got that digital render of the Arctic Bat. He's got that chainsaw hand going for him, and he's got his high speed. I'm assuming it's a sniper rifle, but it's a sniper rifle. We'll call it that for the rest of the video, anyways. And then you can see in the background, he's got a C-130 flying overhead, which tells me that this crash jet, Snow Job came and checked it out, realized that there's bats and Cobra troops in the area, and now he's got some relief coming, maybe some backup on their way. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Are we going to see some more Arctic Joes? And is there a possibility of some repaints and remolds of some of the Joes we have, just in an Arctic uniform now? We do have a Tiger Force. We have a Night Force. We have Python Patrol. It would make sense that we started doing an Arctic Force and a Desert Force. You can't tell me that Snake Eyes is just doing the desert colors just so that he has a character that can be moved over to Valorverse action figure lines easily. I think we're going to get some Desert Troopers as well at some point. So watch for that. Let me know if you agree or disagree. You got that portrait that we're going to see again inside the box in the packaging, and then you've got the basically checklist items of what you should see inside this box for his accessories. And just like every other bat, you can see that he's got a couple of chest options. He's actually got 4 entire chest choices for you to pick from in this set. Okay, moving to the side, you see his number 69 in the series. Keep your jokes to yourself. I will. And then you've got that box art again, and he looks really cool with that monocle viewing system, right? And then on the back, in the newer packaging, in the plastic-free, coffin-free design, they do use this space a little bit more relevantly in showing you what you should expect. They also let you know that this bat, they stand at 6'5" tall, and guys, that is relevant to the figure. When you put these things online, you can see these height differences very effectively. And then they've got their focal points, which is another head option with that polarized look on the visor. And then I think it even says polarized in case you're not sure what it is. Cobra tells you everything. And then what are they focusing on? The alternate hands. So you do get a hand selection on this, and it is not your normal bat loadout, which now means I have to go buy alternate bats because I need some more loadouts. And you'll see why as we go through the figure. If we go over to the side, you've got the instead of getting the PCFs, the primary combat functions, as you do in other boxes, as we've shown before, those little icons that would show up on the side, you get a very smaller representation of that here, and then the QR code that if we were to scan it, it would send us to Hasbro's deep information layer and tell us something we didn't know, or just confirm the shit we knew. Boom. Gotta watch the language again. I swore too much on the last video for my own liking, but it is what it is. I make no apologies. That's the box. Let's go inside. I already pulled all that stuff out for us today. You get that Arctic back kit number 69 in there. It is that Pelican style ammo case, and when you open it up, you get that baggie full of fun, which you can see I've already ripped mine open because I'm just going to do my accessories as we go with my head-to-toe inspection. And then that Cobra logo. And then this is what I really like about the new way that they package the Joes in the more recent. And I hope that they continue this in whatever way they can when they do go back to whatever degree of plastic packaging they do. I hope they retain this. And that's the feature art used to present the character to you when you open the box. And I like that. And that for certain collectors and displays, this is value right here that they did very well, rather than just putting a simplified Cobra graphic or or nothing, right? It's simple cardboard. So good on them for using that space effectively. So let's get the camera switched over. We're going to have a look at this fella right here. And look at that. Ain't he pretty, guys? He's so pretty. But you know what else he reminds me of, guys, while I set him up? I recently watched, actually just a few nights ago, and it wasn't relevant to my plans to ever buy a bat. I watched that movie Chappie again, that Neil Blomkamp gem that features Di Antwoord. And that's what I think of when I think of this guy. I think of the movie Chappie. I think of Di Antwoord, and I can't help myself. I gotta play some Di Antwoord in the back, right? Because I do think he's freaky. So I display him well with that polarized helmet, and he's got that chainsaw glove. But let's go over him. As I said before, guys, in other videos, sometimes you just got to concede where you don't see a tactical feature that exists in modern day. You got to chalk it up for that creativity, and we're talking about an Android here. What changed my position on Androids is that we are at the point now where you can Google a ton of videos on droids that actually walk and react to their environment, are able to get knocked down, retain their balance, or get back up, right? A variety of tasks. And they shoot with high accuracy. So we're not that far off this actually being a relevant development in military tech. All right, you guys get the point about the Di Antwoord joke. I'm just going to turn it off. It's distracting. So he's molded in white, gray, and black, which are great features for a winter character. I don't think I need to go in there. There's that joking Arctic polar, what does it say? Arctic polarized on the helmet. Just to remind anybody who is putting a bat together to go on patrol, they're like, do we need polarized? No, no, Arctic polarized. Make sure it's got the Arctic polar. Oh, right. Okay. Look for that helmet. Never mind the fact it's white. Anyways, just little details sometimes can be worth mentioning. Anyways, that polarization is really cool. How it kind of goes from a, yeah, I'll use my pointer, from a blue up to that gold, right? And it accents well with that back plate with that very techno high metallic blue. And then these black components that you feel should pop out and attach to something later. So that's one head, and I'll just go over the side of it. It's got these great little features. I don't know why mine got dirty. My finger wasn't dirty when I put it on, but I almost feel like I got it out of the box dirty. It's weird. Anyways, he's got some ventilation to cool all those microchips and components and processors, everything like that. That sleek design, and it does thematically fit with the original bat helmet design, which in turn looks really good with Vipers. And you can see that Viper in the background. Just anywhere you can get that army builder effect and that what's the word? Compatible aesthetics, or the fact that theme of that helmet going throughout the army, it just lends to the size of the possible size of a massive army, right? So no problems with that head. And then you got that mechanical neck with those pistons, and it's very articulate. It is the 2-point articulation neck. So you can do a lot of poses. Again, as is trademark with all, well, not, I shouldn't say trademark, but it's come to be known with all of Hasbro's classified. They've kind of really nailed down that butterfly articulation to move the arms back and forth, in and out, in the ways you wanted them when you were a kid but couldn't quite achieve. And then multiple points of articulation throughout have kind of firmed their reputation as a high-end action figure worth getting. So when we move down, I'm just going to pop my preferred head onto this guy. And it is the black monocle head. All heads on their classifieds will come off with a simple pop. It is counterintuitive to what we knew as kids, but it is going with Hasbro's grander, bigger picture, small hands, big map. They want you to be able to develop your own Joes out of the parts they provide, and with every line, they continue to achieve more and more possibilities for you. So I thought this was a much cooler head for this guy. He definitely looks like a hunter killer here. Chappy very happy, Chappy like his new head, Chappy ready to kill. Go get Joe, right? So, and the offset of the black and the gray dominating as opposed to a white blip, I thought was a lot cooler. And then at the back, same basic shape and ventilation process with that. So I'm going to leave that head on there and just kind of show you the neck a little bit more. You can see when it comes to straps, they don't dick around, right? Like Joes have straps with buckles and Velcros and things you can detach. Cobra, bats, those straps are bolted into that neck. There's no pulling his straps off. You don't pull off a piece of armor with him. It's all bolted into his body. He's got a couple of grenades on him. I'm going to go back to my pointer here. A couple grenades on that chest. And then you can see that he does have a white fabric covering a lot of to keep him camouflaged. And he's not painted. He is meant to confuse the enemy. Are you a human being? Oh God, you're not, right? But they dress him up like one until they roll up his sleeves and reveal these massive forearms of basically Terminator, right? And so you've got the hand where you can see all the pistons and levers that would move this hand. It is very much reminiscent of what you would see Terminator 2 when they go and pull that out of the case. That's the design there. And then they've got that big hinge joint with some support levers to explain articulation here. He's got those big black shoulder pads, armor. There's not a lot of armor plating on him. We get into the chest options in a bit, but not a lot. And again, I think the point is to kind of confuse an opponent into thinking they could negotiate with something, walking towards it, and then realizing you've just put yourself in the kill zone with something that's never going to negotiate with you. It's a machine, not a person, right? So no criticisms on the arms and any tactical criticisms really, because they are sci-fi, guys, and they are if I were to compare this to anything in modern day, I would say prosthetics for disabled people. They work off very similar principles off a pulley action, and fingers that have these pistons that operate them and everything, and it all looks good. And then this chainsaw isn't the worst thing I've ever seen as far as an attachment feature, and it is different from what the other bats offered with the flamethrowers and other guns. In that, what really works for this is that you've got that connection, which is the same as where the wrist would connect, and all the other features. And this little exhaust port, it's self-contained, but it needs no ammo source, so there doesn't have to be any unnecessary hindrance to the sleekness of its design. So it looks like a very wieldy weapon. They didn't go to a massive unnecessary length. They kept it an ice cutting saw, which, guys, if you've been up in the Arctic or any of the northern reaches, to get into that hard pack ice, you'll need that saw. You can't just muck together an igloo using your palms and the snowball snowman principle. You need ice saws. You need that stuff. And he can fell trees with that. There's a lot of good reasons why the ice saw was the one attachment of choice that they made sure you got with this. Moving down, he's got his little tactical belt. I'd love to know what he's keeping in a pouch here. Maybe it's a repair kit. Guy, I'm a big advocate for first aid kits for all the humans. A repair kit for him would make sense. I imagine these would be ammo pouches or something for his pistols, but I'd be curious what's in there, because anything data-wise, like a map or GPS or accessories, would be in his head anyways. He's got some thigh armor, plating, protection, I guess, but moreover, it just accommodates that holster on the right side, a hard pack holster, and we're going to get that accessory out of the way before it's forgotten about. But I was actually pretty impressed with that pistol design. I thought that was pretty neat and fancy. It's got again, does he need a laser designator on his pistol if he is an android that can self-target? Sure, if he wants the humans to see where to aim. So it's workable. It makes tactical sense for him to have that on there. So he's got a nice pistol, and the boots do not, they don't impress, but they don't disappoint. They are just kind of a Bakshi military-esque looking boot with some armor plates slapped on there. Like, he's got hard boot. It would work as a human boot too if we ever see this recast or reused in any other model, because it would just be a hard steel toe boot, which is very common for a lot of military sub-trades to need them, like engineers would need them. It protects their feet, obviously, but again, it lends to that whole, how can he be an android? He looked so human with his feet. Oy. All right, moving over, we're just going to get this sniper rifle out of the way, because what they've done here is they've given you, mine warped a little bit, and I haven't fixed it but with the hot water yet, but I will. You can always just remold that with a little bit of hot water and then cold water. But they've gone to a different silencer. This one fits right over that muzzle, so you don't have to have it, but you can have it, kind of thing. But that's a stretch from, like, I think this would fit on other Joe weapons. It's just not the peg insert that, like, the blast effects, because they've left that open for blast. Oh, sorry, I'm not showing it there. They've left the tip open for blast effects and everything, but and this end open for blast effects. But it's that wide mouth silencer type, and I was used to seeing it with Snake Eyes and the other Viper set where it was an insert. So that's different. But what else is, they've got the tripod, they've got the rail mount system for any accessories. That's all great stuff. I like the design of this. It almost looks like a well, it is a sci-fi kind of sniper rifle, but almost like it's supposed to be an energy rifle in that it doesn't take any hard round ammunition, which I don't see an ejection port on here, so I think it's got to be like a rail gun, which I think is cool. It goes back to that Fortnite effect of the older designs getting the sci-fi weapons, but with a tech piece like the bat, it actually makes sense. It works on each level. It's got an open trigger guard, which I thought was great for getting it onto the hand, no problem. But the hand it wasn't hard to manipulate the hand around the hand grip anyways. And then a little sight up there, which I don't think he would need, but a soldier might need if they had to pick up his weapon. Say he got taken out and they still needed a better weapon. What I found interesting was how they approached that sling so that you could have a sling and you could still use that tripod very effectively and lay the weapon on the ground without it pushing off to the side because the sling wants to straighten out. I thought that was good. But it does kind of make you think about how you're going to sling the weapon as it pushes the weapon in a direction. That's all it does, guys. But I thought that was a very good include. On the back, you've got his backpack, and there's no post lineup issues with this because it is it's the first layer of the torso. There's no additional layers to obstruct that pinhole, as I've talked in other videos. And then you've got your mount points for the other accessories. So you can see I've put his extra hand in there. I'm not going to waste time showing you how the bat arm features change. They change at the wrist. We all know this. This peg hole confused me a little bit because I think it was meant for this chainsaw to go up into, but I found that didn't fit very well at all. And I might try and see if I can manipulate it with hot water again. Oops. Maybe try and tighten the hole up a little bit by pushing downwards into it. But if that was what it was there for, I wasn't able to achieve that with my chainsaw. And I'd be curious if anybody else ran into that with their bats. If you have this figure, does your chainsaw go in there, or am I seeing that wrong and it's meant for something else? Because I found that when you take the chainsaw off the wrist, it doesn't fit very well into the spots provided. Like, yeah, you can have it sit up there, but it doesn't fit that great, right? So that's why I prefer to just leave it on there as such. Okay, so the chest plate, multiple features on the chest plate. So you have your Cobra logo one, and these are just the clip in, clip out. So you have your Cobra one, which is always good, and you can see that you can diversify these. So you could have a pack of bats. Maybe one's got that and he's got this helmet and he's clearly the lead bat, and the rest have the other variations with this helmet. So we'll get that one off there. And it's just, like I said, a clip in, clip out. We've got the beautiful battle damage one that everybody likes. I remember the first time I came across any Joe battle damage, it was on the Cobra Rattler, and it was 2 panels you could put on the Rattler that made it look like it had just survived a dogfight with a striker or something. And it was really great that Hasbro went back to doing that with the bats and giving you those choices. And it really opens up your range of choices for your theme building, for dioramas and photography again. And then we have my favorite one, which is the more tactical chest rig, and very familiar kind of little eyelets for slipping and clipping important items into, like mags for a rifle. I love that feature, but I don't really think it works 100% in that. I don't know what those mag pouches would be for. They're too big for his pistol, and it doesn't seem as though his sniper rifle needs mags. So maybe that's just for other soldiers in his squad, and I could justify it that way. Either way, I think that's the best vest for it, and I do like that. That's how I keep my bat right there, as that. So guys, that is. We'll put that back on there the other way. That is my Arctic bat. Now, picture a squad of 3 of these. Picture them with the snow serpents that are coming, and the one guy with the gray hood. And I think that's a very great way to ever start getting bats if I wanted bats, right? So the reason, guys, I'm very selective about the bats is if I can find the black and yellow one, I will. Because I want the arm accessories and because it's good. And if I can find the crimson one, I'll probably get it. They're not high on the priorities at all. And the Python Patrol will probably never find its way to mine shelves. unless it's like on an absolute amazing clearance deal and I'm getting it at a price point that I would feel bad walking away from. Like $15, that's about 15, 20. I'm just not impressed with that color scheme. But having Arctic bats makes sense. If you're going to send troops into below zero, you're going to have to put them on work rest ratios. You're going to have to limit your expectations on movement, and you're going to have to really focus on their health and their environment more so than in a normal, like their native environment. But if you've got a bunch of automated troops that don't give an F what the temperature is per se, and we'll keep going, don't get tired, don't sweat, don't freeze, don't need to sleep, well, hell, the Arctic's the perfect place for your bats to start showing up. And Hasbro gave you a really good figure there. On the playability grade, because of everything he comes with, you gotta give this bat his dues. He doesn't have as many different wrist options, but he does have chest options and head options and a rifle that works with this kit. I'm giving him an A+ on playability. There's enough to tell a story around this character in certain dioramas, and he does fit really well with this idea of an Arctic threat. The black and yellow, the crimson and the Python Patrol, they're not meant for the Arctic. They're meant for inside a building, on the battlefield, maybe on an island somewhere. But they're meant for normal adverse places where you would normally place people, and that theme doesn't make as much sense as Robot Arctic does, right? So that's my stuck point on that. But so A+ on the playability, and on the tactical wise, again, I'm going more creative than tactics. But we are getting to this phase where our modern technology is kind of making the bats something achievable, right? More or less. So on the tactics, you gave him a long-range rifle because he's going up in the Arctic, and that makes sense. You're not fighting at close quarters. You're shooting over open plains and drifts and the tundra. Sniper rifle, good choice. Rail rifle at that. Even better choice, I suppose, for the creativity aspect of it. And then of all the attachments you could put on there besides the mechanical hands, having that ice saw was, I think, perfect. Perfect. Would I like a flamethrower in his options? Yeah, that's probably why I'm buying another bat at some point. Give him that flamethrower. Yeah, I really did like this bat figure. So the tactical, I'm gonna go with I'll go with a solid B+, just because it's still not stuff that's really out there. It is kind of a little bit of a leap in our faith in our tech, but it's achievable, it's believable, and I like it. I really like how they presented that figure. So again, guys, Arctic Bat, A+ playability, B+ tactical, and you know what? We'll just give it an all-around solid A, call it a day. A for being a bat that made sense to someone that didn't like bats. All right, guys, that's it for the two figures I bought this weekend. If you agree with anything I say or disagree, please feel free to bring it up in the comments. If you have anything you want to talk about or answer the question about what you thought was acceptable to bring onto your Joe battlefield as a kid, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. I always do. If you like this video, please press like. Please press like. And if you really liked it or liked it just enough that you would watch another video like this, please press subscribe. I really enjoy having you guys here. It's validating to know that how I choose to waste my time might be how you choose to waste your time too. And guys, till the next time, knowing's half the battle, and I'm just here to bring it onto the table. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.